Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your hosts, Bobbi Decker and Buddy Saupé of Sotheby's International Realty, provide education and insights important to buyers and sellers locally, nationally, and globally. Selling your home to a foreign buyer or a new recent transplant to your area? Contemplating a second home or a vacation property somewhere else? Looking to find a solid investor market area? Then this show is for you. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your hosts, Bobbi Decker and Buddy Saupé.
Hello there, and welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Nantucket time. Such a beautiful, charming island off of Cape Cod. And Bobbi Decker, Buddy Saupé were lucky enough to grow up in New England, and we just absolutely love it. It's the weather that drove us to California, yes?
Actually, high tech drove you here.
Well, we're going to cover Nantucket, its history, its charm, and real estate. And as you know, we periodically go out to inquire about what other destination real estate market segments there are around the world and what are they doing and what's happening and where are the trends going, because we're not isolated here in Silicon Valley. We need to know how we relate to all these other markets. And we also have done in the past sharing information about other markets in the U.S. with many of our sister Sotheby's International Realty offices. And today we're going to be taking you to the beautiful, charming Nantucket off the coast of Cape Cod. Tell us a little more. Who's our guest, Buddy?
Well, before we get to that, let me give you a little background. Yes, we have talked with a number of Sotheby's offices around the world, in fact. Bahamas were wonderful to talk about because of another beautiful island, of course. We've talked about the offices in France. We did castles in Germany. In the U.S., we've had Sotheby's offices from Maui, Honolulu, the Big Island, Miami just last week, Silicon Forest in Seattle, Briggs Freeman in Dallas, and their $750 million ranch sale. That's a biggie. Locally with Carmel, Napa Valley, Wine Country, Paso Robles, Decker Bullock, and Marin County. Today's program is exciting for us. Both Bobbi and I have done a lot of growing up in the New England area. And be back here and have time with Gary Winn with us from Maury People Sotheby's International Realty of Nantucket is a pleasure. Gary, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So what's going on in Nantucket today? Give us a little bit about your background and how you got there. And, I mean, how lucky are you on such a wonderful island?
It's a great place. It's a great place to live, and even a better place to vacation. And it's one of it's definitely I think it's the nicest part of Massachusetts, and people from Martha's Vineyard might argue about that, but we think it's the nicest. And it's a very unique, it's isolated and very historic island, off of Cape Cod, and it's a great place to vacation. I've been doing this pretty much all my life. I summered here when I was a kid, and it's pretty much the only job I've ever had, and I've done this for 30-something years, almost 40 years. I've been selling Nantucket real estate. And, my parents were in the real estate business, and I own the Maury People Sotheby's International Realty on Nantucket. And we're the biggest office on the island. It's a great market. We love it.
How do you find... Well, are you raining there today by any chance?
No, but it's cloudy. It looks like it might rain.
Because I just saw...
It's humid, but it's not raining. It's warm here for Nantucket this time of year. It's probably in the high 70s, which for us is warm.
Well, what keeps you there? I mean, sometimes people call it island fever. When we go over to Maui, they go, oh, well, you probably wouldn't like to live here. I mean, you're a little island, but it's just has so many facets to it that are so historical.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a very beautiful place. and we have beautiful weather here in the spring, summer and fall. The winters aren't that great, but the winters are really just a few months. There's 3 months in the middle of the winter where it's cold, but it's charming too. It is foggy and the wind blows all the time, but it still is a beautiful place. And a lot of people come here for vacation and never leave. There's plenty. We have people that buy houses after being here for 2 days.
They just fall in love.
That's not an exaggeration. That happens. People come for a weekend or a week and never leave. They buy a house and want to stay. It's different than Cape Cod or the rest of Massachusetts in that there's very little traffic. There isn't a street light on a traffic light on Nantucket. There's very little crime. It's just a safe place. Your kids can walk around alone, even at night, and people feel safe here. And when they come to Nantucket, even though they might not be very far from New York or Boston or wherever they're coming from, they feel like they've actually gone somewhere because they're on an island and it's so different. So it really is special.
Yeah, it's actually very special from a historical standpoint too. We always on this program are talking about kind of global issues because certainly Silicon Valley has a global cachet to it.
Right.
But so doesn't Nantucket. The captains in the whaling industry. We actually have the connection with the beautiful museums there on your island, and then in Maui where we spend some of our year, and we've done a lot of programs from there. That was the other area where all those people from Nantucket, all those captains and crews went to the Hawaiian Islands to chase the whales as well and bring back the bounty, so to speak. So give us a little bit of that whaling history. It's because you guys were global early out.
Yeah, definitely. From the early 1700s to about 1840, Nantucket was the whaling capital of the world, and one of the financial capitals of the world because the whale oil meant so much to the economy of the world. In the early 1800s, there was a population of 10,000 people on Nantucket, which is about the same as the year-round population now. And before then and after that, after the late 1800s, it went down to about 4,000, and it was that way for a long time, probably until 1950 or so, 1950 or 60, before the population came back up. So, that was, it was the whaling capital of the world. It was, ships went from here all over the world to get whales. They went down, around South America and into the Pacific Ocean, and they were gone for years. And, hopefully they came back with whale oil, and some of them didn't come back at all. It was a very dangerous job.
Treacherous going around the Horn.
Yeah, around the Horn. And there's a movie that was out last year, The Heart of the Sea, which was a Ron Howard movie, which was really the story of Moby Dick. And that was a film that was out nationally and was pretty realistic. It was a good film, and I believe it was out last winter. You could probably still get it on download it. And that really sort of told the story. And the whaling industry was around until I think around the 1840, and then there was they discovered oil, and after that kerosene became what everybody used to burn in their lamps and stuff like that. And after that sort of ended the Nantucket whaling industry, and then the Civil War really put a complete end to it. So.
Wow. Isn't it amazing when you look back? And I understand that the Macy's had a home there.
Yeah, the Macy's had a home, and they were one of the original families I don't remember all the names, but the Starbucks, the Coffins, the Macy's, I don't know, there was a couple more original families. But yeah, Macy's from the department store were one of them. And, those people were spread out all over the world and did different things. They were some of the wealthiest people in the world at that time owned the whaling ships. And the evidence of that is still here with the beautiful mansions on Main Street. And we were lucky enough to market them and sell them sometimes. So.
And they often are, maybe I'm just kind of guessing at that, but it looks like some of them have been converted into some of the most beautiful bed and breakfasts.
Some of them have. The Jared Coffin House was originally a private home, which is a hotel. And there's a few others. On Main Street, I believe only one of the Main Street mansions is now a hotel. What's been happening in past years are some of the mansions that we sell as bed and breakfasts, because of the value, are getting converted back into private homes, into mansions.
Huh, that's a reverse, isn't it?
It's a reverse, yeah. That's sort of a trend. I've sold 3 bed and breakfasts probably over the last 15 years that were converted back into mansions from either bed or breakfast or small hotels. But then there are some really nice ones. There's some great bed and breakfasts on Nantucket that are still in the old buildings. So
we'll be at the Wawanet or Wawanet.
Yeah, the Wawanet was always a hotel, I believe. That's a beautiful, beautiful hotel and a beautiful spot. I believe that was always a hotel, and I don't know that much about the history, but just by looking at it, it was probably built sometime after the turn of the century as a hotel, and it was probably built for that purpose. At one time, there was a number of big hotels on Nantucket, and there was a railroad here that's not here anymore that was built just for tourism. And that was in the late 1800s. There was some huge hotels that were here. None of them are here anymore. Most of them at one time or another either burnt down or were torn down over the years when the economy wasn't as good. So, but I believe it was around 1850. There was a big effort to bring tourism here after the whaling industry which went through to the turn of the century, and there was a lot of big hotels here.
Well, we're going to get more detail about who's driving the market there and where are they coming from and everything else. We have to go to break right now, Gary, and then we will be back. And we will continue with the history of Nantucket and why it's just such a special, special place. We'll drive lots of business to you.
I hope so. Thanks.
We will be right back. You are listening to RE Radio Live. Stay tuned for our next segment. Thanks.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your hosts for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Bobbi Decker and Buddy Saupé.
And welcome back. Welcome back to RE Radio Live. We have a wonderful guest from Nantucket, and we are interviewing Gary right now with regards to the market in our beautiful Nantucket off of Cape Cod. It's always been a very, very special place, and Gary Winn will talk to us some more. If you have any questions for Gary, call 1-800-516-1220 or text me at 650-346-5352. Now we're going to get back to Gary. We have an idea of why people love to visit why they love to own property, how they become totally enchanted with it. Can you give us an overview of your real estate market, say, over the last 10 years?
Sure. Our real estate market is definitely one of the strong. Well, it is the strongest probably right now. It's the strongest probably in New England, and our market is pretty dependent on Wall Street, and it unlike other markets, interest rates don't really have very much to do with it, and it tends to go different directions than other real estate markets. It's not. There isn't always a correlation between other markets. I've heard that the market is not that strong in Aspen right now, which is surprising because we are having. I think we're going to have a record year this year. If not, it's going to be pretty close. A really good year in Nantucket would be over $1 billion in sales. Probably doesn't sound much like a lot to you when you're talking to people that sold a $700 million ranch, but for us it's a lot.
Oh no, that's Texas, Gary. Not to worry about us. I didn't trip into that one.
Yeah. So, but if we have $1 billion year, last year was a good year. It was an 882 million. The year before that was our second best year, which was a little over $1 billion. I think it was $1,011,000,000.
Oh, congratulations!
So that
Phenomenal.
was 2014, and the best year ever was 2006, which was about $1.1 billion. So and after that it went down. I don't have all the numbers for all the years,
not to worry.
but it went down to 500 million during the recession. I think it was starting to come back in 2011. It was 500, and then in 2012 we had a really great year, we thought at the time, which was the second best year ever, which was 833 million. So
that's a lot of money for a little island.
That is for a little
say.
island. That really is, Gary.
Yeah. So when I think we will break $1 billion this year, it's hard to tell because we only have statistics. Through August, and September, October, November are some of our best, well, especially September and October are some of our best months of the year. And we are ahead of last year by about 15%. So I think we will have over $1 billion year. If it isn't, it's going to be very, very close.
So it sounds like in order to do that, you have to have a pretty good high-end segment. Why don't you give us kind of the breakdown of the segments if you can? And
Nantucket is not really one real estate market. It's many different smaller real estate markets. There's a local year-round market, which is a lot of transactions, but it doesn't really bring the numbers up because a lot of those houses are under or around $1 million. So there's that, and then and besides just that market, and most of those houses are sort of mid-island. They're not at the beach, and they're not in town, or they're not on the cliff, which is another a very prestigious area. And there's other prestigious areas. There's a number of them. But just for instance, I don't have the statistics, of course, for this year, but in 2015, there was 149 sales that were $1 million or a little over $1 million. And then when you get between $1 million and $3 million, it goes to 44 sales. From 3 to 5 million, it's 16 sales. And then only 3 sales over $10 million. So, excuse me, 6 sales over $10 million. And then most years will have a couple of sales that are in the $18-20 million range, but that's never more than a couple of sales. So I think there's only on Nantucket. There's been 11. I think there's been 12 sales over $20 million ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool, though.
Yeah, and actually, our office was on one side or the other of 10 of those. So we were on one side or the other, either listing or selling agent on 10 of them, and a couple of them we were on both sides, and there was one other brokered sale and one was a direct sale. So
those are tremendous stats, and we will be back in a moment to continue hearing about those.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your hosts for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Bobbi Decker and Buddy Saupé.
Hi there, and welcome. We are back at Real Estate Radio Live, and we have Gary Winn on the line from Nantucket, and he's just been a tremendous guest. We love walking up and down the streets and getting this whole September vibe when all of the crazies have gone home.
Now, let's not refer to tourists as crazy.
Well, it's hectic and crazy in the summer months. Don't you agree, Gary? And then September and October, November arrive, and that's when New England's at its best.
It is at its best, but we do like those tourists. It is hectic, and it makes it a little hard to park and hard to get reservations sometimes in the restaurant, but we still love them.
Well, you were going over those top sales that were over $20 million, and we kind of, I think, got medium drowned out by the music. So why don't you give them one more time?
On Nantucket, everybody thinks that all sales, they see in the paper the very expensive sales, but there's really been only 12 homes that have sold for over $20 million on Nantucket, and our office, Maury People Sotheby's, has either been either listed or represented the buyer or both sides on quite a few of them. On 9 of those 12, there were 2 other brokered transactions, and then one that was a for sale by owner. It was a direct deal. So we definitely dominate the high end of the market, and always have. So
that's kind of the classic Sotheby's perspective. You mentioned Wall Street kind of drives you, so you've got a lot of Wall Street people coming in. How about that high-tech world in Boston? Are you starting to feel the draw from that? Because we live in the high-tech world out in California.
To tell you the truth, not as much now as I'm sure a lot of the business that we're doing from the financial markets and Wall Street
is related,
is related, but we don't get as many of the high tech CEOs or people that are working for those companies yet. But I think we will, and there's more and more happening in Boston now, and more big companies moving in. But yeah, it's really, our market is so diverse. I mean, we really sell to a lot of people from the Boston area, but we get more from New York and Connecticut and New Jersey than we do from Boston, it seems. And lately we've been getting a lot of London people that are in the financial business, either in hedge funds or private equity companies, and it's been becoming more and more international. We've been through Sotheby's. We've been getting. We sold to a couple of people from Switzerland, one Dutch person recently, and quite a few Canadians too.
Yeah, that's classically the Sotheby's point of view, because we are so global. We can attract attention and communicate effectively around the globe.
Right.
And it's the way we approach the whole selling of property. We sell the lifestyle. You know, someone who wants to ski isn't going to come to Nantucket, and yet they can go to our website and see lifestyles from everywhere.
Right.
All our little niches, you know, whether it's golf or the beach, and there's Nantucket. You know, it's just so charming, the cobblestone streets and the old buildings. You know, we see something that's old in California, and we're talking it was built in 1950.
Right.
We tear them down, unfortunately.
Except for California, where we shake them down. I mean, San Francisco,
right.
unfortunately.
Yeah, they keep a few beautiful ones. So where do you see the trend lines going? You say that this could be a very positive year. Where do you see it going from here?
Well, it's the market has gotten a little different. Everybody seems to want new, finished, and done. Whether it's not necessarily a new house, but if it's an antique house or an old house, they want it, you know, done. And a lot of the houses are staged and almost ready to move in. In the antique house, there's some great antique houses that have been renovated, and you know, I like when people keep the charm of the antique houses, but of course the bathrooms and the kitchens
right.
and all that have to be updated without totally gutting them and really ruining them, you know, and making them, you know, because you can never bring them back once that's done. You know, so we got some antique houses that are renovated, and those are popular. Or if people are buying the antique houses, and we're
going to have to cut out again. I'm sorry about that. Gary, hang on to those antique houses, and we will be right back. Stay tuned for RE Radio Live, 1220.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your hosts for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Bobbi Decker and Buddy Saupé.
And welcome back. We are here talking about Nantucket, all of its charm. And Gary has been kind enough to devote this hour to us and talk to us about the inventory and what he's got to sell. And we were talking about staging. That's amazing. I thought that was something that was very Californian. And instead, we are now seeing that it's across the country and even Nantucket. So they come there looking for old. Gary, are you staging the older homes? Or are you talking about bathrooms and bedrooms when we cut out? And kitchens.
People seem like now it's a younger generation of buyers want perfect. Whether it's an old house that they buy, if they do, they fix them up immediately, especially the bedrooms and the bathrooms. But a lot of them might, or we hope, will leave a lot of the old charm. And a lot of them are a mix of newer, more modern furniture and old houses, which can be very cool if it's done right. But everybody wants perfect. No one settles for anything. There was a time when people would move into antique houses that were very quirky and just sort of live in them because they were cool and quirky and old, but now people want everything perfect, and because of that, a lot of the houses that are renovated, if they're renovated to sell, a lot of them are now staged, or they're being sold completely furnished and turnkey, ready to go. There's also a lot of new houses, and in the newer houses, a lot of them are more modern than they used to be, and they're not really Nantucket style, but they're still cottagey. And a lot of the newer spec houses are completely staged and ready to go. So people can walk right into these houses, and they can imagine themselves living in them. And a lot of the newer houses have pools and, a lot of amenities that the antiques really can't or didn't have.
What's the price differential on those, Gary?
It's you can't even really say because it's all location. The house doesn't have that much to do with the price here unless the two houses are next to each other. It's all about views and where they are, and in each different segment of Nantucket has different markets. But an antique house that's renovated in town, if it's not a mansion, just a nice old Nantucket house, that's renovated is probably in the $3 million, $4 million, could be $5 million. And an unrenovated antique may be anywhere from $1.5 million to over $2 million unrenovated, the same house. And then out of town, we have a lot of things that are being built that are almost like miniest with swimming pools and tennis courts and cabanas and lots of bedrooms and little guest cottages, and they'll be on a couple acres, 3 acres, and beautiful properties. And depending on views, on the lower end, if they do not have views, they might be in the high 4s, and they could be up to 10 or 12 if they have views, depending on location, proximity to the beach. And
so you kind of mentioned location a couple times and being near town where some of the big old mansions are, has its cachet. You mentioned the Cliffs. Is that the Cliffs sort of the biggest high-end neighborhood out there?
That's one of them. Monomoy is another one. Shakamo, Shimo is really great. Squam, which is out by the Wawinet, is super high end. That's on the water, and it's facing east, and there's a lot of big, expensive houses out there. Houses on the water, can be in the $20 million range. If they're not on the water but across the street from the water, they're quite a bit less, but they're still expensive. And it's hard to say because every house is different, and we don't sell them by the square foot. We don't even talk about square feet.
No, it's lifestyle.
It's all about amenities and proximity to the water or views or it's more about that.
I found it fascinating. We were talking to our Maui gal about if you want cattle, if you want horses, you go over to Hana. If you want golf, you go over to Kapalua, or you go to Wailea. But it's very segmented, and people just think of Maui as Maui. We're going to Maui.
Yeah, there's up country, there's everything
So
else.
how do they get to you? We've got 2 minutes in this segment, but here you are, an island. There isn't a big bridge that connects you to Cape Cod. I know that.
Well, there's a lot of private planes that fly in. In the summer, we're the busiest airport in New England. Believe it or not, just as busy as Logan at certain days, which is the Boston airport. Lots of private jets are landing constantly. The other way that most people would get here, of course, they're not on private jet. A lot of our buyers are, but a lot of people will come over on the ferry. There's a fast ferry that takes about an hour from Hyannis, and then there's a slow ferry that takes about 2 hours and 20 minutes, and that one takes cars. So if you're coming over in a car, you have to take the slower ferry. And they both run, several times a day. And there's two different fast ferry services. So every couple hours there's an opportunity to come over. You can also go to the Hyannis Airport and fly over on Cape Air or Nantucket Air, and those flights are little Cessna 402s that fit 12 people. They're the pilot and 11 people, and those fly over pretty often, and those only take about 15 or 20 minutes. And so when I go off island, that's what I do a lot of the time, is take the little airplanes and then rent a car when you get to Hyannis rather than put my car on the boat and take 2 hours over and 2 hours back.
Right.
I want to go shopping at the mall or something, because we don't have malls here. We don't have
interesting lifestyle, and we are going to give everybody your contact information in the next segment. So all of you listeners, stay tuned. We'll be back for our final segment.
Visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your hosts for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Bobbi Decker and Buddy Saupé.
Well, here we are. It's our final segment, and we're going to be winding things down with Gary Winn from Nantucket. Gary, if they wanted to come and have a tour of this beautiful island that we're on, who would they call? How would they get in touch with you?
If they wanted to get in touch with me, we're the Maury People Sotheby's International Realty. We're at 37 Main Street, Nantucket, Massachusetts. Our phone number is 508-228-1881. My cell phone, which you're welcome to call me on, is 508-330-3069. And our website is MauryPeople.com, MauryPeople.com.
Cool. So can you leave our listeners with any little pearls of wisdom about what they should be looking for if they're coming to Nantucket to purchase?
Well, everybody, I think if you come to Nantucket and want to look, everybody is going to want to look at different things. Some people want to be in town. Some people want to be out by the beaches with a real beach house. We have sort of country estates where you could have horses and tennis courts and swimming pools and everything. So, everybody likes different things, and we have a little bit of everything. But wherever you want to be on Nantucket, it's a really special place. So when you get here, even though it's not very far away, you'll really feel like you are somewhere. And once you come here and you start coming here, you probably won't stop.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you in person in just a few hours. So, this is really, really cool. And we loved, just so that we can give you the go-ahead, the fast boat is the best boat. Yes, buddy?
Fast boat is the best.
If you're in a hurry.
We have too much luggage, unfortunately. We travel with bazillions,
right. Well,
so I don't want to take a small Cessna. I'm afraid my luggage will take it down.
Right. So either go call the Highline boat line or the Steamship Authority. Either one. I like the Highline better. I think it's more dependable. It's a faster boat, or a little bit faster, and that's it. And
well, when all the Silicon Valley well-to-dos hear about Nantucket, right, I'm sure you're going to start to see some of them, because it is such a beautiful place.
When they see how uncrowded the beaches are and how all the beaches are open, there's miles and miles of beautiful beach to go to. There's great fishing. There's good, couple of golf courses, one public one, a couple of private ones. We have great clubs, a couple of great yacht clubs and beach clubs, and it's just a great place and a great place for kids. And the kids that come here for the summer, a lot of them, and those are the ones that we're selling houses to now, that have been coming since they were
and
kids.
buy.
They get addicted and
That's
they come back
great.
forever.
That's great. Thank you so much, Gary.
Well,
and
thanks for having me.
Hey, it's been a blast.
All right.
We'll do this on a yearly basis, the yearly update.
Well, looking forward to seeing all you people from Silicon Valley out here.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, and thanks, listeners, for tuning in to RE Radio Live. See you next week.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Tune in, log in, download our podcast, discover more. at RERadiolive.com. RERadiolive.com.